It's good fortune to come across individuals like Shayamal Vallabhjee once in a while, and it's rare. You don't really meet people like this very often, and I'm very grateful that he took out the time for the podcast. Shayamal is a monk. He is a writer. He's an entrepreneur. He's worked with the biggest names in Indian sport and globally as well, and he is a man who's pursued life at various levels and tried and explored various spaces. And if you look at a lot of people, they'll tell you that this is an existence that looks at trying to explore various facets of life and trying to explore various facets of the spectrum. But Shayamal very beautifully describes this as his attempt to live a life of balance. And that's what we talk about on the podcast today. What does balance truly mean? And we try and unravel and try and go beyond the normal conceptions of balance to make sense out of it and try and understand why is it that we truly need balance in our lives. We speak about stillness, the importance of being still, the importance of observation. We speak about the various layers that we've accumulated via our experiences on planet Earth and how important it is to look beyond these layers, and the work that's required to do that as well is something we look at on the podcast today. And we went and tried and spoke about wonderful other things as well. We obviously set out a path for our conversation, but we went astray. We took a beautiful walk virtually, and we spoke about human performance. We spoke about behavior. We spoke about the need for stillness, and so much more. So this is a conversation that I will hold true in my heart for a very, very long time. And without further delay, this is Shayamal Vallabhjee on episode 3 of the podcast. Let's go. Thank you so much, Shayamal. Thank you so much for taking the time for this. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you, Sumedh. I'm excited about this conversation.
You are? That's good to know. I'm happy that you are. What's been keeping you busy, Shayamal? How are you going?
Nothing much. I've been traveling. I've spent the last almost 4 months on the road, 7 countries, 12 different cities. And it's been a beautiful journey. It's been a journey of exploring identities, which is a subject I'm talking a lot about these days. Asking people to question their identities that they show up in the world with, and the price of each of those identities. And I'm a big advocate of stripping away the layers of our ego and the layers of our identity to truly recognize who you are, to truly recognize how you've been conditioned in this world, and how much of your conditioning and limiting beliefs actually belong to you or have been inherited from trauma or past experience that are sabotaging the way you show up in the world. And everything that I speak about, I use myself as a guinea pig, so I deep dive into each of these experiences, whether they are psychedelics and whether they are psychology, or whether they are a form of treatment or even a form of training in terms of pushing the body. I am the first guinea pig that experiments on everything before I talk about it.
Has that realization come out of your time at the ashram and your journey as a monk? Is that something that you've been exposed to via that journey?
No, it was my journey as a monk taught me contentment, happiness, bliss. And that's what spirituality teaches you. It teaches you contentment. But remember, I come from a world of performance, and I'm not content with where I am. I'm striving. I'm striving to thrive. And my athletes are striving to thrive. My people don't hire me because they're content with where they are. They hire me because they want to become the best at what they do, right? So contentment is the polar opposite of peak performance. Peak performance is stressing a system, pushing a system to rediscover ways to optimize that system. But having said that, the balance between science, performance, and spirituality is very nuanced and very important. It's actually the spiritual counterbalance to performance that allows you to remain humble, that allows you to approach every single day with a level of equanimity that you need. That's what spirituality really teaches you: equanimity, balance, stillness is a word that we use. And that's very, very important, because You cannot keep pushing yourself and be mentally in the right place. I mean, we're seeing that with athletes, isn't it? We're seeing so many athletes talking about the mental pressure of performance. No matter how much they speak about it, you cannot remove the pressure of peak performance. There's always going to be pressure to win. Okay, the question is, how do we train them enough to remain equanimous in that situation, in their quest for perfection?
And does that come from balance? Because it comes through very clearly in your work and in your words that you're a big advocate of balance. It's a part of your book. It's been a part of everything that you've said before as well, and you mentioned it as well. Counterbalance. It's very interesting because you've spent so much time, or you continue with your spiritual practice on an everyday basis, but at the same time you're looking to push your limits and the limits of everybody around you as well, your clientele and everybody. That's interesting because you're often told that you are either this or that, but you can be both, right? You can have a life of contentment, but at the same time you can also push your boundaries to achieve excellence.
Correct. And you're right, and the word that people need to understand is counterbalance. You see, our fabric of the word balance is completely wrong, our understanding of it. Our understanding of balance is that we need to be content with everything in life, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. Balance is two things that are maintaining a level of equilibrium in them. And I work around four pillars. So I look at body, mind, relationships, and environment. And I ask people, okay, where's your anchoring point? Where's your counterbalance to how you push yourself outside of your comfort zone? So, for example, if you're an entrepreneur who's going to work and pushing yourself on the business front, trying to redefine the word, your counterbalance would most likely be your relationships at home, your relationship with your wife. Now, you can't push the envelope on everything. You can't push the envelope of your relationship, push the envelope of your physical boundaries with your body, push the envelope on how you redefine business. You can't keep pushing in every direction, you break. So, balance is about knowing where to push and what are the elements in your life that bring that uncertainty into balance against. Because when you step out of the comfort zone, you're going to be overwhelmed with anxiety. You're going to be overwhelmed with fear. These are emotions that are attributed to stepping out of the comfort zone. They're emotions that are attributed to not having an emotional safety net. When that's removed from you, you will feel scared. There will be fear. There will be unknown. There will be anxiety. There will be panic. Right? But at the same time, you need to have an acute understanding of where is it that I can draw on those things to offset the imbalances when I'm pushing my body out the comfort zone. And that is balance. Balance is not contentment in every aspect of your life. It's the furthest thing from that.
Interesting, because look, if you contextualize that in today's environment, and you look at people, right? You look at, let's take for example the urban Indian, or the urban human wherever in the world, right? So you look at somebody who's pushing their limits at work. They've got targets, they've got deadlines, they've got things, they've got aspirations for their careers, for their lives. They want to reach a certain place, right? So they're pushing it every single day. They get home and they don't, they struggle to have or to build an environment that incubates them, right? Like you said, the counterbalance. When you're in that setting, right, where you're pushing yourself everywhere, to ensure that you show up in the best possible way, and it's not working out for you, you're getting burnt out, things, you're crumbling, you're breaking. Do you start with stillness? Is that where you start to try and ensure that you live a life of happiness while you push your boundaries as well?
So, why do we want stillness? Let's just play with that firstly. Okay, what is it that stillness will bring in your life? Okay, what does stillness feel like? Have I ever experienced stillness in my life? Do I have a reference point for stillness? And do I have a reference point for what I can compare it to in terms of how I invite it into my life? Do I understand what I'm expecting to shift in my life when I begin this journey of stillness? you know Now, if you can't even answer these questions, your journey of finding stillness will not even begin. You won't even get off the starting blocks. Why? Because you won't be able to recognize anything. And that's the fundamental thing. before someone even sits down in meditation or sits down to self-reflect or introspect or even sit down to get comfortable with solitude, you have to understand, why am I embarking on this journey? What is it that I'm looking for? What are my areas of discontentment and pain? Where does that pain come from? And what am I looking to get out of this here? Am I fully committed to this journey? Because stillness can be a very frightening thing. It's going to bring to the surface things that you were
It's
invested
very true.
in shutting away.
It's very true.
Right.
Yeah.
So as soon as you are not prepared for something and it comes up, you'll be scared and you'll run away from it. And that's the problem. The problem is everybody starts a practice, and as soon as they feel the first thing, they get scared and they run away from it. Then stillness will help you connect the mind to the body. Okay, it's only in stillness you'll be able to identify an emotion that I'm feeling. Maybe it's sadness, maybe it's pain, maybe it's contentment, maybe it's happiness. And then you'll be able to ask yourself, okay, where in my body am I feeling a subtle shift in energy? And then I know, okay, that emotion is linked to this part of my body. And you can begin on clearing the blocks between the body and the mind. Because peak performance is an alignment of mind, body, and soul.
Wow. Yeah.
You cannot perform in any aspect of your life, in your relationship, socially, fundamentally, in your business, physically, if there isn't an alignment with your mind, body, and soul. Right? Now, most people are in their head. They're not in their body. They're not in their heart. They're not in their soul. They have a fundamentally difficult time in dropping it a layer down. And the American Indians say this: the longest journey a person will embark on in their life is a journey from the head to the heart. Okay, and that's the journey of rationalizing and overthinking to feeling your way. Now, why is this so important at this current time? Because not a single person on the planet has ever lived through a pandemic of this nature. And every way in which we're going to function is completely shifted, which means that we can make the best guess on how to operate, but we do not know for sure what is the right way to move forward in an ecosystem like this. And when you don't know what the right way to move forward is, when there's no blueprint for success, then what you need to do is you need to trust yourself. You need to trust your processes. And that's about feeling. So that is why stillness as a practice is so important for performance, but it's so important in connecting you to your true north. It's the compass that allows you to sort of navigate the hurdles that you have on a day-to-day basis. And it's the checkpoints that helps you know whether you're in alignment.
Yeah. Could you explain that? What does the journey from head to heart mean? Could you yeah, just share what that means?
The journey from head to heart means not over rationalizing and overthinking everything in life. That's what it means. So many of us look for rational, logical, analytical solutions to every single thing. And what we've lost in this process is we've lost our deepest connection to our gut feeling. We've lost the benefit of cellular intelligence that's hundreds of thousands of years old. Inside every single one of us is an intelligence that's so innate, so primal, that its best interest is in us thriving. Okay. The problem is we've moved into a world where we think that it's our rational analytical mind that's going to help us move forward. And it is helping us move forward in building technologies. But what it's not doing is it's not helping us survive in the manner that we are meant to survive. And we've completely silenced our innate extrasensory perceptions of what is right, what is wrong, how to move forward, who to trust, how to communicate, how to be vulnerable. We've lost all sense of that because we're in our head. Being in the heart means recognizing what that inner voice is talking to you, what that inner voice is saying. Right now, that inner voice is echoing what the external world thinks you need, and not listening and not talking to you in the manner that is best for your own uh, thriving as such, or your own success.
Is that the same as confusing extreme emotion with intuition, and the results that happen out of decision making, where people trust their extreme emotion over and call it intuition, where you see a lot of people doing this, right, in relationships, when they go out and say, okay, this so and so person is for me, they're abusive, they have a history of alcohol, etc., but I still feel my gut says that they are for me. But you're actually mirroring things that are in and around you to try and make and forming decisions on that. Is that the same? Are you confusing? Are people confusing extreme emotion with intuition?
It's a difficult question to answer. And the reason I'm saying that is not because we can't answer it, but because I'm a little afraid of how people will take it. The first thing that someone has to understand is you're a byproduct of programs that are instilled in you that don't belong to you. So the way you show up in a relationship and the person you type to choose in a relationship is a byproduct of your past conditioning. Now, before you can even listen to your intuition, you need to have made sure you healed all of that. Okay. So, for example, let me give you an example. For the longest time, I thought, you know, I had a commitment phobia in relationships. That's what I thought. That's what people told me, and I like my freedom, all of that. And I sat with that and I realized, okay, I don't have a commitment phobia because I'm in a relationship. So, the mere fact that I'm in it, how can I be afraid of it? I'm in it. I'm not, so I'm there. So I said, what is it that's preventing me from now going perhaps 10 layers deeper in my commitment in that relationship? Okay. And then you stick with that and you peel away the layers of that. And then I realized, okay, the thing that prevents me is conflict. You know, I get very triggered by emotional conflict. When I feel that the situation is not going to be rational and I feel that the conflict is going to go on and be very cyclic, I get scared and I get scared to invest too much of myself. Then I pulled that a layer deeper and I said, okay, where did conflict come from? Where did this fear come from? No one's fought with me. I've not had a bad relationship. I've not had bad parenting or bad upbringing. Where did it come from? And I sat with that. And I realized that, and it took me 3 months of working with a therapist to figure this out. Right? The 3 months told me that I grew up as an Indian person in South Africa wanting to play sport for my country. I grew up in an apartheid environment with discrimination. Right? From the time I'm 15 years old, my parents initially didn't want me to pursue sport. Right? So there was a struggle, there was an emotional push to get them to buy into that. Then there was an emotional push every single day, right, in trying to get an opportunity. I had to fight every single day, not just me, every person of color in that time had to fight 500 times harder than anyone else to get an opportunity, right? So I've realized, and pulling that narrative all the way to where I am today, I've realized I'm emotionally exhausted. you know I can thrive, I can work hard, but I'm emotionally exhausted. I just don't want to fight anymore. Right. I want a sense of ease and effortlessness in that. Now, why am I giving you this example that's very personal to me?
Appreciate that.
Is I'm saying it's not so easy to just say, you know, this is right for me, this is wrong for me. It's not so easy to say I should
Yeah.
listen to my intuition. Right. It's about how do you understand the layers below every single thing to understand whether it's your intuition, whether it's your programming, and then how willing are you to do what is needed to reframe that or correct or reprogram that.
Peel off the layers.
You have to peel off the layers. It's such a
It is.
deep
Yeah.
intuitive science, that it's not a one-day journey. It requires deep commitment
Yeah.
to that process. You're going to change every single second of that day, because even now I could peel away even more layers
It's
of
true.
that. Right? And and I keep asking, I keep telling people, I have this beautiful exercise which I call the story of your life, which I call an emotional growth tracker. So I said, anyone pick, and for me, my story of my life is me growing up in an apartheid. Just that
Yeah.
simple sentence. I journal about the same experience every single year, right? To look at what are the new learnings, what are the new reflections, what are the new pains, what it is, to look at an emotional tracker for how a single incident in my life is helping me grow. Right? Isn't that growth? Isn't growth how you view your pain? How you're able to grow from your pain? How you're able to see new perspective out of pain? Right? That is what growth is. But the problem is nobody reflects on it consistently enough and long enough to understand where they're growing and how they're
Because
growing.
it constantly exposes you to things that you're hurt by, right? It keeps bringing up, like, when you were speaking, I remembered this beautiful quote by Deepak Chopra. I think it says, observing yourself without judgment is the highest form of human intelligence.
Yes, this
It
is
is
true.
so true, but it's a lot of work, isn't it? It's a lot of work, and you got to put in the work for you to get to that place. But it's tough. It is tough for a lot of people.
It's tough, but it's people want it easy. I had an example with one of my relationships, and I see this a lot in people that I counsel as well. You know, they know they need help, but they're prepared to do the work on condition that the relationship is held together and they stay together. And I keep saying I said, you do realize that you are holding that person to you're
Yeah,
holding an emotional
yeah.
gun to their head. And why are you linking your growth to whether that person wants to be with you or
Oh
not?
wow.
Firstly, the mere fact that you've recognized
Yeah.
that you need to grow means that there's already something that could sabotage this relationship. Okay? And the mere fact that you'll do it only if this relationship continues means you've already put too much of importance on that person and not enough on yourself, which means that in 6 months' time, you're going to be in the exact same position as well.
The absence of counterbalance.
The absence of counterbalance in some shape and form. So people, the journey of self-inquiry is long, it's hard, it's painful, it's deep. And a lot of people don't even know why they want to go in it. A lot of the times they go in it because there's a trigger of pain. But
Yeah.
pain is temporary. Buddhists say everything is impermanent. Happiness is impermanent, joy is
Yeah.
impermanent, success is impermanent, pain is impermanent. All right. And the problem is, soon as there's even a subtle shift in that pain, the impetus to want to continue on that journey dwindles. And that's the problem.
I spoke about this on the previous episode as well. It seems like we'd rather suffer than change the way we live. It seems like that.
We rather suffer because we fear change. And the reason we fear change is we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust how we would react, to the new person. And the other problem is that we hold ourselves to our identity. I hate it when I'm on podcasts or shows and people mention things I did 15 years ago. Like, hey, he was with the Indian cricket team. I don't even recognize myself when I was that person. Hey, he was a men's health trainer of the year. He was this person. And every time they say that, I have this pressure to conform to that identity, but I'm not that person anymore.
That's so true. Yeah, yeah.
So the problem is, the more you try to hold on to something, the more it anchors you there. It becomes a root. Your identity, this is the scariest part of everything, is that your identity becomes a root that anchors you into a certain point. And human beings are not meant to have roots. Trees have roots, and that's why they stay in the same place. Roots keep you in the same place. Identities are roots. You are not meant to be in the same place. You are meant to move. You're meant to be spiritually, emotionally, physically nomadic. You're meant to grow and
Wow.
transition. You're meant to transform and you're meant to change. And as long as you hold on to things that are metaphorical roots, you have sabotaged any growth in your life.
So embrace change, right? That's the key.
Embrace change, but let go of identity.
So what do you hold on to? Nothing.
You don't hold on to anything. Because as long as you hold on to something, it keeps you back.
So what defines you then? Of course, in spiritual life and in teachings, the concept of I doesn't exist, right? In many teachings, the I doesn't exist. But for the everyday people that find it difficult to embrace that concept, where they're so attached to this identity, this body, the achievements, and all of that, right? For them to take one look at this thought process, where do they start?
They start by measuring themselves on how they show up every single day. Measure yourself on your intention. Intention should be your true north, not your identity, not your work, not your success, your intention. What is the intention I'm bringing to every single activity? What is the intention I'm bringing to this relationship, or to my work, or to this friendship, or to this collaboration, or to even helping someone? What is the intention? If you can measure yourself by your intention with how you show up with every single thing, then you're committed to growth. That should be your only yardstick with how you do that. Every time you talk to someone, am I fully present? Am I trying to do whatever I can to make sure I give the best version of myself to that experience? You know, am I helping them because I want to help them, or I'm helping them because I want to draw something out of that? Let
Yeah.
your attention be your true north that guides you, and you will be in a very beautiful place.
Intention, right? Yes. So intention feels like it's part of the process. It's an everyday process. But it seems like what we're looking for in these settings in work and relationships is gratification, right? How do we feel in that setting as opposed to what do we bring to it? As opposed to looking at what do we bring to it, we're looking at what do we take from it.
You know, you're saying so much, and it's so beautiful to have this conversation with you. You know, the word honesty is often used only in relationships. Relationships with business people, relationships with lovers, relationships with partners. They're saying, hey, I want full honesty. And when someone peels away the layers of honesty, honesty for most people, 99% of people, means transparency. And I explain to people that transparency
Yeah.
doesn't equal
Wow.
trust. Transparency
Yeah.
equals surveillance. You know, when you want someone to be fully transparent, then you are surveilling them. You're not trusting them. Transparency equals surveillance, not trust. Right? And for most people, honesty equals transparency. And we always turn the camera towards someone else asking for that. The fundamental problem is that most people can't even be honest with themselves. Right. And what do I mean by this? I mean, when you go into a situation, or when you go into a relationship, and that could be a business relationship or anything, how honest are you with what you want out of that? And how comfortable are you communicating that? You know, you can't, if you cannot even communicate that I'm looking for something materialistic from this conversation, or I'm looking to just serve from this conversation, or I'm looking for this outcome from there, if you cannot even be honest with that, right, then honesty has sabotaged you in every shape and form, because you can't be honest with yourself, and as a result you don't even recognize
Wow.
yourself. You know,
Wow.
it starts with the courage to even say what I want. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be monetarily or financially rewarded from an
Absolutely.
exchange. There's
Yes.
nothing wrong with
Yes.
wanting more opportunity. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. But why is it that we masquerade what we want with over friendship? We masquerade it over that person is important to me. You don't even give a damn about that person. Right? You need that person for that, but you have a problem being honest about what you want because you think it's rude. And it's not
Yeah.
rude. You know, it's honesty. And because you can't be honest with yourself, you've put on layers and layers upon yourself where you don't even see yourself. You've got masks over you that you don't even know. And as a result, you don't even know how to even show up in the world. So when you look at intention as a word that's so pure and so honest and can be your true north, most people cannot use it as their guiding true north. Why? Because they're not honest enough with them to even trust their
Yeah.
intention.
Peel off your layers. That sticks out to me in everything that you say, in everything that we conversed about here.
A few factors and a few prerequisites that you need. One is you need to carve out time every single day, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, every single day, to sit with yourself. The second thing that I advocate is the process of journaling. The reason why I like journaling is because 99% of people, what they think is in their head is not in their head, and they have no idea how to articulate it. So writing forces you to articulate what's in your head, right? So if you're feeling something, put it down in paper, right? And then expand on that. And then I have the the beautiful 111 formula, which is write one page on that thought, then write one paragraph, summarize that one page into one paragraph, then summarize that one paragraph into
Wow.
one line. Or you can work backwards. If you can only write one line, then write a paragraph on it and then write a
That's
page on
beautiful.
it. Because then what happens is you're able to articulate that entire thing in all its
Yeah.
complexity,
Yeah.
with all its layers of nuance. Force yourself to do this
Yeah.
every single day. Right? Once you start understanding this, the second thing is you have to change your emotional circle. You have to change your friend circle. You have to immerse yourself in a group of people who are like-minded, that are invested in peeling it. Otherwise, you'll never find the answers. Okay, so these are the first three prerequisites. Put it in your diary. Commit to 30 minutes a day of self-reflection time. Get a book and start writing, or get a digital journal. There are tons of tools out there. Just start the process of discovery, the process of answering a journal prompt every single day, and then start having conversations with like-minded people who can help you peel away the layers of what you're thinking, who have gone through similar experiences that are willing to share it. Someone asked me last night on a conversation, they said, how do you feel right now? What is that feeling that you want on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah.
Such a powerful question. What do you want to feel on a day-to-day basis? And if I ask this to an average person, they'll give me answers like, I want to feel happy, I want to
Yes.
feel content. What does
No idea.
happiness mean?
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
no idea what happiness means. Generally, happiness means I get this opportunity. And then I sat with that and I said, you know what? The feeling I would love on a day-to-day basis is I would love a feeling of balance in the amount of effort I put towards something versus the amount of
Wow.
results I see in it. If I could get that sense of balance from every single day, right, then I'm getting enough intrinsic reward to keep me motivated on that path. Because I'm not going to ask for happiness, because I know happiness is the byproduct of a process and I can't get that every day. But I can find metrics of evaluating my process on a day-to-day basis. Then we ask questions like, hey, how do you want to show up in the world? What does that even
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So we have hours of conversation just on a
Yeah.
single question, and that's what's needed.
Lot of work, lot of time. You got to dedicate yourself towards it, isn't it? I think just to round it off, and to, very important thing that you mentioned while we were talking about it was also knowing what you want at the end of it. What is it that you want, right, out of the process? Is there a practice or a framework that you recommend for people on their journey to saying, all right, I feel like there is the need for me to slow down, to be still, to observe, to get on this journey, and at the end of it I'll have, this, what is this that I want, that I've outlined for myself? Is there a framework, a practice that you'd like to share with people about this journey so that it becomes easier for them?
So, I'm not a big believer in a single practice that a person can use to find stillness and use to go deep within. I am a believer that, you know, anything that you fully subscribe to and you surrender to will teach you whatever you need to in life. So, for example, I have runners who have never meditated a day in their life, but they have found stillness and are able to reflect on all of their pains in their life through the art of running. You have artists and sculptors who, through working with these materials, who are fully immersed in it, that are able to find that stillness, that single minded focus, that clarity, and are able to answer life's questions through that. So I keep asking people, find that thing that you love and dedicate your life to it. You know, I think, this is a good time to tell people that discipline is love in action. That's what discipline is. You can only stay disciplined with
Yeah, it's
something
very true.
if you love it. And discipline is the actionable of an intangible thing called love. That's what it is. And passion is born from discipline. You see, discipline has to break you before it actually makes you. And only when you invest a significant amount of time being disciplined with the process will passion be born from it. A lot of people, I mean, I get asked this question almost every single day. People are like, how do you find your passion? I'm saying you find your passion
Yeah,
after
it's
10
very
years
true.
of doing something.
Yeah, it's very
That's
true.
when you find your
Yeah.
passion. Right. You're not going to find it in a book. You're not going to find it through a workshop. You're not going to find it through an online course.
It's not going to drop down from above. No. Yeah.
No. I said passion is born when you dedicate a life to something. Right. And I think it's one of the most misused words in coaching and life philosophy right now. We seem to have made it seem like passion and purpose are easy things to find. No, they're not. They're the most difficult things to find. You will find something you love, but to convert that love into pure passion requires 10 years of discipline and sticking to it.
I there's just so much here. In I recognize that we've of course set an agenda before we started talking, but you know because of the layers and the depth to your thoughts and our thoughts and the back and forth that's happened here virtually. I think we've gone like that a little bit in every sense. But I think I've cherished it. It's valuable. This is how it is, I suppose. You look at certain things and you feel like you want to explore those thoughts, you want to explore those and you go into the depths of it, and you move around with it and you play around with it, and then you understand, right? And then you begin to have better understanding of what is it that truly moves you, what is it that truly makes you happy, right? And I truly value it.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I jump onto a lot of podcasts, and I think
Yeah,
there's a
nice.
massive difference between a conversation and an
Yeah,
interview. And for me, podcasts are
that's true.
conversations.
Yeah.
It's a dance. It's an intellectual, emotional dance between two people. And the best podcasts are ones where the host and the guest are allowed to be fluid enough to embrace that dance and not stick to a script. There's
It's
nothing
not
more
fun.
demoralizing than when someone sticks to script, because you've
Yeah.
you've laid the foundation for a beautiful deep conversation, and they've like, oh, okay, and I also want to ask you this, which is
Yeah.
completely irrelevant to what we've just said, you know. And so podcasting is a skill. Having a deep conversation is a skill, and it speaks to your depth in terms of and the amount of work you've
Yeah.
done in understanding this art and refining this art and being able to hold space for healthy conversations. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'd like to thank you for everything.
No, I have to thank you. Of course, it's almost midday. I know monks wake up early, so it's well and truly into your day, and you've chalked out time for me. So I appreciate this. But I have to tell you, I tried very hard to stop myself from talking about cricket. Of course, that's a common ground for us. That was part of my notes. I have to tell you, that was part of my notes. But I said, you know what,
Yes,
it just
yeah.
doesn't figure here. So I said, let it be.
No, yeah, I'm sure you had to tell, and maybe we can chat about cricket on another day and another level. We can peel away the layers of
Of
how it
course,
is. I mean,
of
everything
course.
that we spoke about is applicable to everyone, including professional cricketers out there, and it's important that they see that and that they realize that.
Yeah, yeah. Peel away the layers. Shamal Vallabhjee, ladies and gents, the one and only, right here on the podcast.